I'm very excited to be here this morning with everyone. Thank you for coming. I pretty much just forgot everything I was about to say. So we'll have a wonderful time together, hopefully using our time wisely. I'll present a little bit, but I want to let everybody know that I'll leave plenty of time at the end of my presentation for questions and answers. It can be about anything I've shared or anything else that you may have going on that you'd like to share or ask about. Just a little bit about myself. My name's Tokan. I'm a resident here at the Zen Center. I've been here about 3 years now, 2.5. I originally came to the Zen Center sometime around 1990 or so, some 35 or so years ago. I lived here at that time for a few years before meeting my wife and then leaving the Zen Center to raise my family for about 25 years. And my wife was gracious enough to loan me back to the Zen Center now for my latest incarnation here. Also, our abbot, Hojo-san, and his wife and son have gone off to Japan for a couple of weeks. They've been gone now for almost 2 weeks. They'll be back next week for some special ceremonies on behalf of his wife, who recently received a Dharma transmission and will also be recognized for her time studying in Japan at a nunnery some years ago. So very excited for them to take this pilgrimage to Japan. It's also been a very interesting time when the abbot has gone and leaving the residents to their own accord. It's been a very interesting journey here, illuminating as well. Also, that reflects, he's not the first one to leave the palace, so to speak. Really, that's the start of our story with the Buddha. Gautama Shakyamuni Buddha, before he was a Buddha, was a prince living in a palace in India, northern India, who one day got out of the palace to see the world beyond the walls, where he had been kind of coddled in a life of luxury in a princely way. And as he slipped away from the palace and got a chance to see the world more directly, he saw some things that were very disturbing to him in a very deep way. And right then and there, he resolved upon himself to go find exactly what this was all about, why he had never, what to do with all this suffering and misery that he encountered after leaving his life of luxury in the palace. And he too was married with a child and left to meditate, to hear teachers in India. So he undertook that journey for, I think, about 6 years or so before coming to his great enlightenment, which I call great because it persists to this day in the fact that we're here gathered together, continuing this wonderful legacy of realization and longing, the search for an end to this, or not an end, but some deep insight to what this suffering is. And in the end, he came to realize that this suffering is not caused by ill fortune or social injustices or divine whims, for that matter. Really, it's caused by what we would call habit energy, karma, which really comes down to our incessant need for craving and desire for something other than what we have, for something that we already have. And his insight was that no matter what this mind experiences, it is this reaction to craving, a craving always involving suffering. And this is the second noble truth. The first noble truth was realizing that all of this life, that there was suffering in life, that it wasn't all just a coddled existence for everybody. And when the mind experiences something distasteful, it craves to be rid of the intensity, the irritation. When the mind experiences something pleasant, it craves that the pleasure will remain and will intensify. Then the mind is always dissatisfied and restless. This is very clear when we experience unpleasant things such as pain. As long as the pain continues, we're dissatisfied and do all we can to avoid it. Yet even when we experience these pleasant things, we're never content. We either want them to, we're never content. We're either wanting the fear, we're afraid of them, that the pleasure might disappear, or that we have the hope that it will intensify. People dream for years about finding love, but are rarely satisfied when they find it. Some become anxious that their partner will leave. Others feel that they have settled cheaply and could have found someone better. We all know people who manage to do both. Great gods can send us rain, and social institutions can provide justice and good health care. Lucky coincidences can turn us into millionaires even. But none of them can change our basic mental patterns. This habit energy, which really many of us may know the term karma. This is what we're talking about here, really. Our karma, our conditioned self. Hence, even the greatest kings are doomed to live in angst, constantly fleeing grief and anguish, forever chasing after even greater pleasures. And Gautama found that there was a way, though, to exit from this vicious circle. If, when the mind experiences something pleasant or unpleasant, it simply accepts, is able to receive things as they are, suchness, then there is no suffering. So it's not an absence of troubles or difficulties. These are real things in the world, in themselves. But it's when we become attached to the idea that they're stuck to us, or that we're stuck with them, that there's no change. So impermanence is the basis of this. If you experience sadness, for example, without craving, that sadness will go away. You can continue to feel sadness, but you do not suffer from it. There can actually be a richness in the sadness. We talk about it, an example would be heartbreak. When you find somebody, that moves you deeply, inevitably something will happen to separate you. Whether it's something in this life or eventually death that will separate us in some way. And there's no life without death. There's no love without sadness and heartbreak at some point. But if we, so just doesn't, that will just never go away. This is a fundamental part of life. If you can experience joy without craving, and then that joy will linger and intensify. You can continue to feel that joy without losing your peace of mind. No chasing after attachment, no running away from trying to avoid things. This is what will allow us to settle into being peaceful and joyful, happy with the world. Even amongst various tragedies that will happen inevitably in the course of our lives. It's really about appreciating this life that we have, the richness of it, the dark as well as the light. But how do you get the mind to accept things as they are without craving? Well, to accept sadness as sadness, joy as joy, pain as pain. Gautama provided the guidance to train the mind to experience reality as it is without craving, to train the mind to focus all of its attention on the question, what is this that thus comes? What is it? What is this? What is this that thus comes? We're all a part of this wonderful mystery, actually. And it's just a matter of whether we're able to accept that and be open to the mystery. not the certainties of life. There's no guarantees other than if we choose to be attached to things or try to avoid them, there will be suffering. Gautama grounded this insight in a set of rules meant to make it easier for people to focus on actual experience and to avoid falling into cravings and fantasies. He instructed his followers to avoid killing, theft, things like this, since such acts would stoke the fire of craving. When the flames are completely extinguished, craving is replaced by a state of contentment and serenity known as nirvana. The literal meaning of nirvana is extinguishing the fire of the passions. Those who have attained nirvana are fully liberated from all suffering, and they experience reality with the utmost clarity, free of fantasies and delusions. And while they will most likely still encounter unpleasantness and pain, such experiences cause them no such misery. A person who does not crave cannot suffer. And so this is the fourth noble truth. Our way, our path, our way of getting out of suffering and helping others. So that's appreciating this life of ours. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, the focus of what we are all attempting to do in our lives, whether that's here at the Zen Center or out in the world. Like I said, I was for 25 years or so raising my family and working out there in the world, the busy world, for others, with others, and coming home every night to my family and sharing our time together. And it was very easy to take it for granted, these close relationships that we have with our families, with our friends, our coworkers. So this practice of Buddhism, of Zen, is all about appreciating this life that we have throughout every moment of the day. And there's always an opportunity within whatever is going on, whatever kind of tragedy may be unfolding even before us, or wonderful experience like my opportunity to have sit here in front of you all and have this talk, share this talk with you. There's always an opportunity, if we're ready for it, to appreciate this life, to accept it wholeheartedly. And that gives us the opportunity to turn whatever tragedies or problems or distasteful things that are going on in our lives, to turn that into a source of joy, from having a deeper understanding of what's going on and not accepting the surface appearances of these tragedies. And ultimately, that's what we want to share with each other. This ability to transform, to turn our common tragedy into a common goodness, a common joy. And that's ever present. It's really a matter of when we choose to wake up, choose to accept the wonder, the beauty, and the terror of this life. You don't get the one without the other. And that's what our egos, our craving wants to do, to separate the beauty from the terror. But that's a half-hearted kind of life, actually. The tragedies, the difficulties, the challenges give us the strength, the power, the determination, the resolve to live a full life. And not only for ourselves, though, but for each other. To know that each one of us has our own struggles. Male, female, this, that, the other thing. It's not unique. We're all humans. We all share a basic experience of life, both life and death, this impermanence. So I've also, Zen Center's been, we've been working diligently my job, one of my jobs here at the Zen Center is as a work leader. So I'm involved with coordinating and directing some of the work that's outside of the kitchen, outside of the office, and that sort of thing. We've been doing a lot of work in outdoors, trying to kind of recover and find a better way of working with the wonders of our natural environment here on the land. We have about 85 acres, about 80 acres of property here. Most of it's forested. We have a few buildings here and there, but much of the property is untouched, largely. And we went through the fires of 2017, which kind of woke us up to the reality that there is we are vulnerable. There is a chance, that very tragic, difficult things can happen here if we're not in tune and working with the natural ways of the world. And so we've been working diligently over the last year in particular on helping to restore that balance or have a better relationship with our responsibility to steward this land. And so we've been doing a lot of work in the forest, trying to mitigate the hazards of fire, as well as restoring the health of the land, of the forest, that has gone unchecked, in part because of the natural systems have been disturbed, even with our presence. And so even for us at the Zen Center, finding the balance of life with nature is an ever-evolving opportunity for insight and growth. So, and we're very glad, very grateful that people come up here to share this with us. And in fact, at one point, it was already here before I came here some 35 years ago. So there were people before me who were critical and responsible for allowing me to come into this circle, into this community, to practice both Buddhism, but also something that is even beyond Buddhism. It's very simple way of life, working with people, with everyone, and nature itself. And often we're, again, trying to compartmentalize our life and pick and choose the parts of life that we want to deal with, our family, our friends, our spiritual communities, whatnot, and not have to deal with the criminals, not have to deal with natural disasters, not have to deal with the challenges of work and making a living in our society. But here, you get an opportunity anyways to, if you choose, to embrace a much bigger sense of yourself and to really appreciate very deeply the opportunity this life affords each and every one of us. And it's not beyond us, it's not beyond any one of you and beyond me. And it's as simple as being together and doing our best, putting our best selves forward, really. What Zen does, or what any spiritual practice does, is really help to give you focus, ability to concentrate your energies and your ways together. And each of us work together with one another to guide each other. So this is a very precious, special opportunity, actually. You don't get this very much out in the world. We have bosses and we have people that work for us, maybe. But it's rare that there's an equality, an evenness to everybody that we encounter outside in the world. And here we endeavor anyways to make it much different than that. And that makes all the difference in the world. To me anyways. I'd like to read a little bit from this book, which happens to be titled Appreciate Your Life, The Essence of Zen Practice by a wonderful teacher whom I've never met, never had the opportunity to meet in his lifetime. This is Taizan Maizumi Roshi, founder of Zen Center Los Angeles, and what was a network of other temples that came to be called White Plum Sangha. So, just like to read a couple of pages here. They're titled The Three Pillars of Zen. What is the primary matter of our practice? The three pillows, not pillars, pillows.
So he's making kind of fun of the three pillars of Zen.
Right.
Okay.
What is the primary matter of our practice? It always comes back to oneself, to one's own life. We say, clarify yourself. Clarify the matter of your life and death. How do we do that? Well, Dogen Zenji says, forget the self. Are you forgetting yourself or are you reinforcing yourself? This is very important. What is the state of forgetting oneself? Well, there's a book called The Three Pillars of Zen. That was written by Philip Kapleau Roshi, who was a student of Maizumi Roshi, I believe, at one point. But his main teacher was Yasutani Roshi, another well-known Japanese Zen master. And as the title indicates, there are certain foundations in Zen. When I first heard this title, I thought it was Three Pillows of Zen. So it seems to me that pillars and pillows does not make much of a difference. In order to sleep comfortably, you need these three pillows. Otherwise, you'll have nightmares. The first pillow is samadhi. One common meaning of samadhi is concentration. So samadhi, that sounds like a big word, enlightenment, very Zen, very Buddhist. But we can take it a little more calmly. And I hope it'll help to illuminate how much simpler it can be if we don't put it on a pedestal. The first pillow is samadhi. Our common meaning of samadhi is concentration. And in order to forget oneself, concentrate on one single thing. We have the simple analogy that the mind is like water in a bucket. When we move the bucket around, the water moves too. Let the bucket sit and the water eventually calms down. And if the water is muddy, it gets cloudy when we stir it up. But leave it for a while and the mud sinks down to the bottom and the water becomes transparent. Sitting is sometimes compared to this, but there is one big difference between settling the body down in Zazen and the muddy water settling down in the bucket. The crucial difference is our conscious mind, which functions autonomously. It moves by itself, stirring up the water and mud. So how to keep the mind transparent? By concentration. When you sit, if you let the autonomous mind go on, it goes on and on and on, and it never stops. You don't even need to sit to know that. The conscious mind is comfortable that way because there is constant change, constant distraction. It's almost like watching television. Imagine that your mind is a blank television tube with all kinds of thoughts arising all the time. It can be very entertaining. We have various schemes, such as counting the breath in Zen, such as counting the breath to reduce the numerous thoughts that bubble up. Counting the breath is one of the beginning practices for students as a way of strengthening their concentration. The practice is to count to 10. When you count your inhalation separately and your exhalation separately, or you can count both of them as one. The activities of your mind are reduced to 10 or maybe 20. It's still a very effective way to calm yourself down. When you do this, you raise your power of concentration. So this is very important, this ability to concentrate, to focus ourselves. We're extremely powerful individuals, human beings, each and every one of us. And It's that we don't appreciate ourselves enough, actually, and those around us who inspire us to be our best selves, that allow us not to realize the best of what we have to offer the world, our families, our communities. And again, the Zen Center or really any spiritual community, this ought to be the focus, is to bring the best out of each and every one of us. And we do that best in the presence of others and working together. So raising samadhi power is always gradual. No one can do it overnight. I think this is true for any kind of practice. You do the same thing over and over, just practicing the most basic thing. When I was a kid, I practiced Japanese archery. You draw the bow over and over in order to master the form. You need to learn how to pull, how to face the target, how to open the legs, where to hit. You need to master not only the position of the hands, but also the position of the feet. So when you really become an expert, the arrow hits the target, even if you close your eyes. And of course, my arrows hit emptiness. So this is that's a wonderful statement right there. Hitting emptiness is the non-attachment, is to recognize that what's very important is for us to make the effort, to make that effort to do the right thing, not only for ourselves, but for those around us. Ultimately, we cannot be satisfied with ourselves without providing for those around us as well. If there's strife and struggle in the world, we suffer as well. But we can make a difference if we try, if we apply ourselves. And again, this is very much the point of this paragraph, or this part of the chapter, is this ability to concentrate and to remind ourselves of what is important in this life. In art, in sports, in music, in anything, we practice basic things over and over, repetition. When we do this kind of practice, we become stronger, both mentally and physically, spiritually. Even with all this practicing, I'm still a rough man. That's not me. That's Taizan Maizumi Roshi. No. That's the point. I appreciate that humility that he shares with us, that he's a rough man, despite the intense efforts that he has applied in his life to being a good human being. And again, this comes back to the way of Buddha. This is our path. It's not the only path, but there is a wonderment, a wondrous aspect to this path that our ancestors, our lineage have provided for us. They're the trailblazers, and they're padding the path before us, making it even easier for us to be able to choose the path, a more direct way to a wonderful life together, a wonderful way with all beings. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It offers other challenges, so we never quite get over all of them. Another implication of samadhi is evenness. If our mind is even, if our mind is open, then we can accept everything that happens in the same way. We are not attached to one thing or over another. And if our mind is not even or open, then what we perceive will appear deformed to us. So how do we make our mind even? That's the question. That's one of the wonderful things I deeply appreciate about the Zen practice, is the importance of how important it is to allow yourself to have questions, to not gloss over these questions with answers and solutions, simple, easy solutions, but allow yourself to let those questions that arise to be deep inside. It's when we are disturbed and bothered by, annoyed by these questions that arise for us, whatever they may be. Great variety, right? But when we get annoyed by these questions, our instinct or kind of our first reaction is to react and you know, pave them over, gloss them away. Oh, well, I can give a talk, and you know, I'll you know, look like a better person or something like that. But reminding yourself to keep the questions open-ended to where they sink deeper and deeper into yourself, into this self, whatever this self may be. Not to think of yourself ever as having mastered any of these things. That's the title of Suzuki Roshi's book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, is to have that childlike innocence and naivety, even in our adult selves, is a very wonderful capacity. And really the only way to aspire to attain something more genuine, more authentic than what we've settled for up to now. So the importance of keeping the questions open. A third implication of samadhi is to properly perceive external things. How can you properly perceive external things? By emptying yourself, by forgetting yourself, forgetting your thoughts and concepts about those things that you perceive as externals. In other words, have the proper relationship with external things, with the objects around our lives. We often talk about everything as it is. Are we really perceiving everything as it is? If so, fine. But unfortunately, it's often not so. Even seeing the same thing, 50 of us will perceive it differently. How can we perceive properly? By making ourselves empty, by not being attached to our concepts of the things we perceive. This is the first pillow. Make yourself comfortable with this pillow. So he's referring really again to this sense of emptiness, that we preclude the depth of our understanding of life by being too facile, too quick to provide answers and solutions to ourselves, to others around us, to put labels, names on things. Table, floor, you, me, altar, sacred, not sacred. There's actually no discrimination at the core of life. We all exist together in a wonderful, magical capacity to be, to breathe, to sense, to love, and to suffer, to experience pain, trouble. But can you actually return to that emptiness before thinking, before putting a name on things, and have a much bigger sense of self that includes everything? This is a big question. The second pillow is to forget oneself. And how does one forget oneself? By raising samadhi. There are many different states of samadhi, many different levels of concentration. But one such experience or state is not a big thing. Dogen Zenji, he's a dear founder of our lineage, Soto Zen Buddhism in Japan, back in the 13th century of Japan. So Dogen Zenji says it's like sticking your head into a gateway. Why is it so special to become aware of one's own life? Well, it isn't rather extraordinary that we do not realize who we are, isn't it? This life is ungraspable. Why is it ungraspable? Because life is limitless. We're bigger than we think we are, more capable than we think we are. We hold ourselves back. We can understand this intellectually up to a point, but how can we fully experience this unlimited, boundless life? Simply forget the self. Be this life without exception. We are all this limitless, ungraspable, non-thinking life. This is the second pillow. So this self that we're talking about, some people may talk about it as an ego. If you're a psychologist, maybe. We talk about it as the conditioned self, the self that's been brought up in a society, educated to think that you are this, you are that. We identify much too easily with what goes on in our lives, with what we think we attain. Father, mother, son, daughter. These are all really unnecessary labels. They serve a certain convenience for society, but they're much too limited to who we actually are, to what this life is actually about. When you do Zazen, simply identify yourself as Zazen. How do you identify yourself with yourself? In a sense, you are already doing this, whether or not you realize this. Still, you sense a gap between your apparent self, which suffers and struggles, and your true self. Your apparent self and your true self are not separate. This is difficult to take in, isn't it? We cannot grasp this very state of existence through intellectual means. The true self rejects such human devices. When you really grasp this fact, joy is just joy, pain is just pain. But in the midst of joy and pain, there is no joy and there is no pain. In the midst of thinking, there is no thinking. In the midst of self, there is no self. This is the fundamental wisdom of Zazen. The third pillar is actualization. When you forget the self, you are liberated and confirmed by all things. This is the realization of the oneness of life. You then must extend this realization into your daily life and make your life the realized life. So that may be a little tricky, a little unfamiliar if you haven't heard this before. But our normal way of thinking and perceiving ourselves is that we know who we are, and we're responsible for creating ourselves. And we have this identity, male, umpteen up squat years old, father, mother. I've got a family, I've got a non-family, I've got friends. I'm a worker of this, I'm a doer of that. But ultimately, who we are, what this is here, is really a matter of what you think I am, of what how the world perceives me. Each of us is that subject to being defined, so to speak, by actually not ourselves, but by the world around us. So this is a 180-degree view of our normal way of thinking of ourselves, that we know who we are, but actually we're a product of what everybody else thinks of us and what the world does to us. So mere sitting is not enough, though. You must reveal this wisdom in the way you live. How can we live this realization? Just living in a realized way is still not enough. We must share it together with each other. How can we share it best with everybody so that all of us can live enlightened life? Well, another big question, and this is the third pillar. Just a question. So again, the importance of having these questions, allowing these questions to sit with yourself. We don't need to be looking for answers outside ourselves by any teacher, by any guru or whatnot, any wise person. The answers ultimately lie within ourselves, and we have the wisdom innately to access those answers, and to really, the answer is to enjoy this journey of life. Again, coming back to appreciating your life as it is. But it takes a deep wisdom to be able to take that in, to embrace that truly. So these three pillars are the basics of our practice. And when we carefully examine what different masters say, it may sound like they are talking about different things, but actually they are not. They're simply emphasizing different aspects of this process. Of course, we can't just jump into this actualization. This is why our practice advances little by little. Though in a sense, there is no little by little, and yet even though we are the way, we don't know it. Even though our life is already realized, we don't see it as such. How is our life in realization? Just as we are, just as you are, just as everything is. How can we appreciate our life in this way? This is a very basic issue of our practice. So again, very simple kinds of questions, but we're not going to find the answers to these. There are no answers to these questions outside of ourselves. And that's really the fundamental point of our, the need that we have to be together, to work together, discover ourselves mutually. Not to assume we know who we are or what this is, what this life is about. But it takes a very, very clear heart to understand the importance of this and to accept this as a very basic part of ourselves. So I appreciate you, each and every one of you, for taking the time out today to come and be here with me, allow ourselves this time together. It doesn't last forever. So I'd love to open it up to any questions you may have about anything, really. And let's just share the bit of time together with what's most important to us. How many things have you done today? I don't expect an answer, but can you ask that of yourself? How many things have I done today, and how many of those things that I've already accomplished can I appreciate? And how many beings did it take to help me be there to do these things today? Not good, not bad beings, but just what did it take to actually make this possible? From the moment you woke up, maybe even before the moment you woke up this morning, at home. You have a home, someplace, a residence. There were many beings involved with making that home possible. And that includes yourself, making a nest of a home. But then you left that place this morning, and you drove from some place up to this mountain to be here at this Zen Center. For some of us, that's a repeat journey. We make that journey regularly, maybe weekly, monthly, more often. Kind of depends. But for some of you, it may be your first time here. But can you imagine how many moments, how many fortuitous things had to happen correctly in order for this to be even possible? And when you have the chance to sit down and really look at that, it's a pretty wonderful existence, pretty wonderful realization how magnificent this life is. Yes?
I have a long nagging question,
Sure.
which may be too complicated for our setting today. I'm trying to understand better the concept of the lack of dualism as that translates in the outside real world. Do you have any suggestions, or is there a way to further pursue an understanding of the Buddhist perspective towards dualism or lack of?
Well, there's kind of two parts to your question, I think, what I hear. One is, how do I take the best of what's possible and share that or be that in that busy world in everyday living? And then the other one is kind of more basic to that, what is that peaceful, harmonious way of being oneself? So in Buddhism, what we have what's called the six paramitas, which are aspects of ourselves to help us get to the other shore being not delusion, um, a peaceful, harmonious way in the world. Those six paramitas, you can call them virtues or something, in the kind of Western lingo, are, if I may recount, danya, which is being generous. So being generous with each other, being very considerate of each other. That's a kind of a gateway, a first way to be able to realize a better way of being, having better relationships in the world, whether that's with our family, our friends, our co-workers, being generous when whether they want to take from us or get away from us. It's always our prerogative to offer something, even if it's something small, as a simple gesture, a kind smile in the midst of difficulty, giving small gifts, bringing flowers home for our partners, or just taking our kids out to the park on a sunny day, or something like that. Can come in many forms, but this spirit of generosity is the first paramita that can help us get to the other side. Of course, it takes discipline, and discipline is, I think, an underrated quality of life. We tend to look for inspiration and motivation, but actually discipline is a very important part of our lives, and it's something that we concentrate on, focus on here at the Zen Center, because we live by a schedule. Roshi has often spoken of our schedule from sitting in the morning at 5:15 every day. We have a whole schedule throughout the day, but that schedule actually is kind of the ultimate teacher. Doesn't discriminate whether you like or don't like it. It'll treat you the same. And it doesn't wait for you to be inspired or motivated. It's just there. Your ability to accept that kind of discipline is exercising your discretion to concentrate and focus, apply your effort in a way that's proven, for the last 2,500 years, all the way back to Shakyamuni Buddha, that these practices are good and they are capable. They're effective to bring you to that place we all aspire to be. So discipline is the second one. Shanti is a third. That's relates to forbearance and tolerance, the ability to be open to your struggles, to the difficulties that you may be encountering that prevent you from, having that first inclination to be generous, that first inclination, to share and to be with, to witness, and maybe in the Western terms, that ability would be called, to bear witness. So forbearance, tolerance, and being open, persevering. The fourth is effort, is make an effort, try, do your best. You may not think it's adequate. You may not think your effort is good enough, but don't listen. You don't need to listen to that voice. Go ahead, be brave, take the step to extend yourself, to do that right thing that you're thinking about, smiling, offering something, or just being present in silence, in stillness. It's not easy, but it's very important. And when you recognize the importance of it, you will make the effort. The last two paramitas are dhyana, which is meditation, which is really a practice of concentration, helping us to concentrate. Again, coming back to that ability to focus and direct ourselves for what we ultimately aspire to be, to do. and then prajna, which is wisdom. That's a tricky one. What is wisdom? Well, it refers to something, it points to something before knowing, before you start thinking, before you start labeling. Before you start labeling your coworkers as difficult, or people that you don't like as being bad, or the ones that you like being particularly good. Actually, it's a very mystical, magical thing that we have the opportunity to even be together, whether we like people or don't like people, this person or that person. So there's always an opportunity within that to find something wonderful. Are we going to give ourselves that chance? That's the question. Does that help a little bit or answer?
I think it's going to be a long journey to translate the concepts into the real world. I think growing up as a Westerner, I mean, we're kind of programmed into thinking in dualities, good and evil. And so when I'm out in the world and I make my judgment, so it is helpful to think about the wisdom comes before the judgment. And then maybe if I'm truly wise, I suspend the judgment. But that's helpful. Thank you.
The stillness, and that's why there's such an emphasis in our practice for stillness and silence, is to give ourselves that opportunity to get to know ourselves, get to know what it is we're actually feeling or thinking. It's a very tricky, monkey kind of mind that all too eagerly grasps or reaches for these labels that really are inappropriate, whether they're good or bad labels. So the ability to sit still, to concentrate, and to listen is really kind of the first step to having the courage, to having the clarity to make the next effort as the best that you can, and to accept yourself right where you are. That probably precedes even being still or silent.
I just wanted to say that for me personally, accepting myself as I am seems to be easier sometimes than accepting others as they are. And that's where I think the indoctrination into dualities is kind of a block.
So who is this you've accepted?
Who is it I've accepted?
You say you've accepted it's easier to accept yourself than others.
Oh, who is it that
Who is this?
Well, I'm still exploring who that is. Yeah.
Who is this? That's to have the open mind before, sticking yourself into that label of, well, this is who I am, and therefore I accept this person, I don't accept that person. Having an openness to who you are, what you think about yourself. And that's, again, where the stillness and the silence come into play. Giving yourself a chance to listen to something deeper than, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other thing. It will renew you. Yes?
Thank you for the talk this morning. I'm feeling very nervous lately, and like not in conversation with myself, and the conversations that I do feel like I'm in with myself, I feel like I trust myself less, and I feel like a sense of like a lack of clarity, more than I have in a really long time. And I just wonder like what advice you would give to someone that's like exploring that.
Yeah, that's a tricky one because You know, you're challenging your own abilities, your own courage. So my guidance on that is to get outside of yourself, is to, again, offer yourself to others. Of course, you need to do that in a safe way with people that you do trust or situations that you do trust, but identify those that you do trust, and with those trusting relationships or situations, offer yourself. And that will give you the opportunity to recognize that you're actually able to contribute positively to others. And that will give you a bigger sense of yourself and give yourself that opportunity to know that you are more than what you thought you were.
There's a lot of people who feel the same way you do.
We all do, actually. We never get over feeling, that there's more, that we can do more or want to do more.
So I just want to say this to the new people that came. When I was young, like in my 20s, these Suzuki Roshi that began sitting in the West, he's our teacher. He said, we're going to have a tea ceremony. And so being in my early 20s, I was really excited to experience a tea ceremony. So already there was like 30 of us there. So we served tea. After the person served the first and second person, I knew the tea ceremony, the ceremony is going to be hell. Because I was struggling with sitting. My legs hurt really bad. And there's one pain will hurt you. The next pain, no matter what position you change to, that's the one you work with. And that's the one that forces you to your breathing. When you're hurt badly, universally, you will go into that breath. And if you can't go into that breath, you pass out. So it's not just Zen, it's universal. It's lower abdomen breathing. And that's when you work with, and that's how you strengthen that concentration and sense of self. And so it got to, I was counting, 28, 29, 30, and there was a knock on the door, and 10 more people came in. So that was my lesson, the sitting, that it's, well, I should say Zen is intensive sitting. And that's how you begin losing the idea of self. Because you're fighting, pain is demanding that you be here. But you're squirming because it hurts, naturally. But you have to, through the breathing, you can work with the pain. There's no other way. Otherwise, it just becomes hell. So that's in respect to all the movement and all the doubts about it. But, if you really want to find out, not many people do, they think they do, to resolve our unsatisfactory sense of reality, you have to sit. But not many people do. There's a whole room full of people here. But sit consistently until this self, the idea who you think you are, is worn away. And then something blossoms. It's all about that. And that something that blossoms is in yourself. How could it blossom? How could you be awake or enlightened and be satisfied with the reality we are in now, unless you are awakened up? So once you know how the self works by, it's called habit energy. And just recently, I'm 90 this year. Okay, in my bed in the morning, I wake up, I like to study. I look out the window, I see the Douglas fir and the squirrels, so I read. But there's a wastebasket on the corner of the room, so I throw things, papers to the wastebasket. And then just recently I discovered, hey, I could move the wastebasket next to my bed. That's habit energy. And that's also ignorance. Habit energy means karma. We're all caught in karma. You understand? This is the reality we live in. But when you understand how habit energy, karma works, so I put the garbage can right next to my bed. And then I threw the paper in, and I still missed it. Now, you should try to understand what happened. Why? It's right next to my bed. How could I miss it? Because I wasn't there. It's as simple as that. I wasn't there. I just went like this. But the piece of paper, the garbage can, yourself, there's a complete relationship to it. We're all the same. So next time, when you pick up a piece of paper on the ground, you are picking up the universe. Things change, and it's through meditation practice. My wife and I founded this place, this barn. There were holes in the wall, and there was a concrete floor. And if someone said to us ourselves, you have to be here for 10 years, I was young like you, I wouldn't come. Because how could you make a commitment for 10 years? We stayed here for 50 years. And that was the best choice in our entire life. Because we're old, we're 90, and it's the happiest part of my life right now. Yeah, believe it or not, I was just like you. In fact, I didn't even talk. And Zen students are, mostly male Zen students are famous for not relating. They don't know how to relate. My wife taught me how to relate. Now this is important to listen to, even for not men, but women, is that how do you relate? And so as I was growing up, I didn't want to talk too much. I was introverted because I didn't want, one reason was, an honest reason, is that I didn't want people to know how stupid I was. That's one. And some people say, right? And then the second reason, I didn't know how to relate. I was never taught how to relate. And I asked her, and we would go out for dinner, eat dinner. I was looking forward for the cigarette at the end of the dinner, right? That's what addicted people do. I went to a movie. I didn't say anything. She said, "What did you think of the movie?" I didn't say anything. Was it good? Was it bad? Or was it funny? Well, anyway, you know how it goes. So she said, all you do is when you're with somebody, you say, oh, it's a sunny day today. That's all. Simple and direct. That means you're here and she knows or he knows that you're there. That's a relationship. Okay? You got it? Yeah. I mean, it took me years to learn. And it saves a lot of suffering. The suffering is, you know, when he tells you what are the 6 paramitas, or the Buddhist 4 noble truths. This Buddha's birthday coming up soon. And it's not about his birthday, it's about your birthright. You believe it or not, you are all Buddhists. Even I am. But we don't believe it.
You don't believe
I mean, he's from India. But believe it or not, you're all Buddhists. And this is not an assumption, it's a reality that you don't believe in. And it takes training, because as soon as you were born, reality was confirmed from the outside. You had to even get your nourishment from the outside. And through your parents' ignorance, that's another kind of conditioned training, that the world is outside. Education confirms it, media, everything else, the entire world. The reality is outside of you, it's not here. Buddhism says it's here, and that's what is to be realized. If it wasn't here, how could you realize it? How could the Buddha Dharma lasted this long if it wasn't? It's not studied, it's imparted, it's transmitted, it's beyond words. It's not a study, it's reality. And that's what we have to understand. Okay, so because we think it's outside, then there's the habit energy. Habit energy is beginninglessness. There's no beginning, no end. Okay? And that habit energy is composed of our greed, desire, because everything's outside. We're trying to get it. And that's what we're taught. We're conditioned. Okay, that's our desire and greed. Next one is the hatred and anger that is in this room that we haven't resolved. The hatred and the greed, desire, the hatred and anger, and the ignorance is right here in this room. And that's the cessation. Buddhist four proclamations, the Four Noble Truths. Four, life is impermanent. No one can deny that, because everything's changing. Everything changes. And we have to know how to live in it. That's why we don't feel happy. Nothing stays, nothing is permanent. And we should know that right from the beginning, okay? And why do they say noble? Noble means only the people who train and practice know the Four Noble Truths. It's not for humanity. Noble means Arya, those people who train to turn around the conditioning to the absolute. Know the Four Noble Truths. Okay? First is impermanent. Second is desire and attachment, right? To the outside world. The third is, it's called Ye Dharma. And I think, look at, there was a Buddha train, an arduous train. I mean, why would someone like a princess like him train? Because he lived in a palace. He was a princess. He had everything he could ever want. But somehow, they kept him in the palace surrounded by walls. But he had a curiosity, so he went over the wall and he saw sickness. He saw the real world, life. He saw death. He saw suffering. And he also saw a monk walking. And just the composure of the person who was called a monk was walking. He wasn't in a hurry going anywhere. We're always in a hurry. I mean, all the cars going on the highway. I don't understand, where are people going? I mean, it sounds funny, but it's really sad. It's a pity for the human race. No one knows where they're going, okay? It's the conditioned world. And this statement, Ye Dharma, was between Subhuti, and who became Buddha's disciple, and one of the first of the 5 monks, I don't know the name, that Buddha met on his way. And he struggled in an arduous journey for 6 or 7 years in the forest to find out what was reality. What is reality? And how can we be satisfied when we're living with reality? Not just psychologically, but in our entire being. and also the outside world as it is. Okay, so he saw this, Subhuti saw the disciple walking, and he was walking that same demeanor. He wasn't in a hurry, and he was dignified, and he had a sense of integrity. You could feel that in somebody. And he asked him, who's your teacher? And he said, well, I'm a new monk, and my name is such and such, but this is what the teacher proclaimed. It's called Ye Dharma. And these Y-E means primordial, no beginning and no end, and Dharma means the entire universe. And in ancient times, these two words would substitute for a sacred relic of the Buddha. They were that powerful. Ye Dharma. Okay, and what it means is Buddha's proclamation is that of all things, there's a cause. Is that true? Everything you could think of, there's a cause. There's nothing that is not produced by a cause. Is that true or not? Huh? Okay, what is it? Okay, wait, let me finish. Okay, of all things produced, there's a cause. The Tathagata, meaning another name for Buddha, proclaims there is a cause, and also there is a cessation to the cause. There's a cessation to suffering. And the word Four Noble Truths is that realization. Those who train and practice. Only if you think it's the most important thing in the world. Only if you think that, because you want to be satisfied with living in reality. As it is now. Just as it is, not changed. You want to, there's no human being that does not want to be, not satisfied. You want happiness, everyone, not just happiness, but it's joy to be satisfied with the world that you are experiencing. And so there's the cessation of cause, and the cause is the beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance. In this room as well. Climate change is not out there, it's here. We did it. All of us did it. Everything's out, it's here, not out there. So that's why it's so important was the most important. We made a vow when we were in our 20s when we got married, to find out what is true. Not what you think is true, but what is reality. And we stuck with it. That's how important the Dharma is. It's not an education, it's about living not just a good life or a happy life, not just a psychological life, satisfied life, but when you get old, especially, someone told me, becoming old is not for sissies, because you get sick and you start suffering more because you're beginning to lose things. Zazen is the active participation in loss. Isn't that something? There's no other training like that. You're tired, your body hurts, you're sleepy, you're exhausted. And why you're exhausted is so that you begin losing the idea of yourself. And then when you start losing it, something else is born. That's the whole process. And just because it's born, you have to nurture it for the rest of your life. as you're nurturing everything else around you. That's the best thing you can give yourself, you can give your children. You are the example of your children. Your greed, hate, and ignorance is an example, or is it an example for your children and those who live around you? That's why the Dharma, I mean, so if it is, the East, but it's universal. That's the truth, and everything else is leading you away. It's not like this is a free country. Anyway, that's why we're here. Thank you.
Compassion is a wonderful cure for anxiety. I think we're pretty good on time. Yes?
We're over time.
Done a good job.
We'll do what we do.
Thank you.
Finish.